Hey everybody, Scoutcrafty here again. It's New Year's Eve 2020 and we're about to embark on our third annual New Year's Eve Lantern Light-Off. Actually, this one here is in memory of a good friend of mine by the name of Bob the Lantern Guy. Bob passed away last year, but this was originally his baby, his idea. Back in 2017, Bob and I became friends. He's a lantern collector, as I am, and I subscribed to his channel. We would chat back then, and back and forth. We got to be friends, emailing each other, talking on the phone, and turns out that Bob came up with the idea. He said, you know, we should have a New Year's Eve lantern light-off from coast to coast, because Bob lived in Thousand Oaks, California, and I was here on the East Coast in New York, so... You know, we did it, and we did it again the year after, and then this year, Bob passed away in June from cancer, and he actually was diagnosed with it, and gave me a call, and he says, "Look, you know, I got cancer. I don't think I'll be around." So I said, "Well, how long did they give you?" He says, "Less than a year," and a week later, Bob was gone. So. That was a heck of a diagnosis, huh? From less than a year to a week. But Bob was in good spirits the whole time, and you know, him and I got along really good. And so this is a tribute to Bob. And we're going to talk about lanterns today, have a little bit of lantern. I'm going to set some up tonight. And let me show you this one thing I got first. Now, I've always enjoyed all kinds of lanterns and lights and flashlights and things like that. And I always had, I used to make my own a lot of times. And I used to collect these fluted lenses, anything that had a fluting to the lens or any kind of, that would disperse the light. And I found one the other day, and I thought we would... work on it real quick. I just want to polish it up, and let me show it to you. Now, on Christmas Eve, returning from my girlfriend's mother's house, I saw this on the side of the road, and I said, you know what? This thing's just begging for me to grab it. So I stopped. I picked it up. It had a little bit of a crack here. You see this little crack here? I since epoxied it, clamped it down, so that's all fixed. It's actually almost like a two-piece. You get the fluting mechanism in here, and then you have a clear shell over top, I guess a weather protector and whatnot. So what we're going to do now is it's all repaired. Basically, I just want to give it a quick polish, and the reason you do that, it helps with the way it looks. And this is Meguiar's plastic. This is great for polishing plastic. So let's just give it a quick going over. And this is a damp piece of paper towel that we're going to apply it with, and then we buff it off with a dry cloth. Now, what a difference that little bit of polishing makes, right, on the way it looks. But, you know, it's got a couple scuffs, but you'll never see that when it's on top of a light. And let me show you what I wanted to do to show you how these, how I usually make my own lights. That's why whenever I can, I buy these lenses. Because if you buy the whole fixture, they're usually very expensive. But sometimes you could get a lens like this for maybe $5 or $10, and then you make your bottom fixture. Let me show you. Now, you might remember this lamp I made a while back out of just... an old wood turning that I had in a jar, and it was a broken bulb, but I wanted to save the bulb, so I have it down here. But this is what actually I use it for. You see these lenses that I get? Now, when you put that on top of here, you could see, now, this is how you can check the fluting or whatever you like, and notice the beautiful, you know, the way it disperses the light, all these lenses, and some of them are really expensive. I have glass ones, I have, this one's a plastic one, and this one here is the one we just found, and you could see here, when we put that on top here, you could put this at the end of a shop or something, and let me see if I could darken a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And you could see here, you know, the fluting and stuff. It doesn't show any cracks. It's just a nice lens, and I've always found these fascinating. Now, believe it or not, it's not as crazy as you sound. There's a lot of people like myself that collect not just the lanterns, but also lenses and things like that. And so that's always an enjoyable part of the hobby. So we're going to go upstairs now, set up, get ready for for when it gets darker later on tonight, before the ball drops, and get some lanterns set up there so we're not fumbling around in the dark. And then when it turns dark, we'll continue the video. Okay, we're in the attic. During the daytime, which you usually don't see, we usually don't get up here during the daytime, so it looks totally different, right? Totally different. Hey, you remember these things? Remember that? You know what that is, right? one of them overhead projectors. I got to go through all my lab stuff for you. But anyway, it's time to take down, I guess we'll take down the Christmas decorations you see here. Usually I have him facing the other way. You see that guy? Yeah, he's illuminated. But I got a lot of my lanterns up here, but this is the one that we want to take. That was Bob's favorite. Now the problem is when you're into collecting lanterns, you know, you store them away, you throw them in the back of the attic over here. I'm in the corner of the attic. You can see the lanterns, you know, you just store them away. You buy 1 or 2 a year, and after 20 years, you wind up with a stack of lanterns, all different types, all different years. And, you know, you don't get to use them all the time, but I have a few favorites that we're going to pull out. Here's an old steam engine, huh? Look at this thing. I have to run this for you one time. Did you ever hear of a breadboard? Do you know what a breadboard is? Here is an old-fashioned, something a amateur radio operator might have put together to tune in some stations and homemade radios. How cool is that, huh? In case you're wondering how I keep my nice color during the winter, every once in a while I pull out this vintage lamp. We have the early type of infrared holder, you know, probably from the 50s when they were big. Infrared light bulbs used to be big. What they are, you know, the sun produces ultraviolet, infrared, all types of rays. And this one here, unlike ultraviolet, these are supposed to be very good for you, just like the sun's benefit lights. And if you had problems with congestion or muscle aches or something like that, you would take this and you would put this light. They were big in the 50s and stuff. And you know, you don't see them too much anymore unless you go to an old style diner and look over the French fries. Okay, here you can see what it looks like. I adjusted the lens so you can see, but you see that the the light that it puts on, it's very relaxing. Now sometimes I'll come up here and just bathe in the ultraviolet light. You hear that? You smell that? What? It smells like steak. Okay, so here we are. We have our lanterns lit. This is some of Bob's favorites, and that's why I put them out here. I'll go over a little bit about what they are, but kerosene lanterns are so much fun. What a great hobby to get into. From about the 1860s to the advent of the electric light, these were all over the place and still are used in some places around the world. But Bob's favorite was the inspectors on that shelf right there. Let me show you a little bit about them. Now, even though these lights might seem primitive, they are anything but primitive. Remember, these replaced candles years ago. And the design of a kerosene lantern is pretty interesting, especially this is considered a cold blast lantern, but what happens is you see these tubes here. These are functional tubes. As the flame burns and the hot air goes up, it forces air to recirculate around, giving much more candle power than a standard candle. And that's why they replaced most of the candles that you saw back in the day. And these inspector lanterns were used by railroads and things like that to do their inspections of the locomotive cars. Now, if you notice, they were shielded behind. They have a kind of a shield behind, you see here? And that's so not to blind the operator, the person using the lantern, and it shows the light out the front. And then there was a reflector. This acted as a reflector, and also there was a reflector behind it. You can see what it did. Notice how much additional light is given off by the reflectors of the lanterns that have it. And you see this one right here does not have a reflector, but the other ones do. So that was a big advancement back then too. And those were usually nickel plated, and quite often they're lost and not usually included with a lot of lanterns you find today. This is a buggy lantern that is still used by the Amish, and you can see here it has a magnifying lens which magnifies the light, and on the back of it, this one here has a red light so you can see like here. That's very interesting, and that's hung on the side of Amish buggies. You might remember this when I restored this in one of the videos. This is a Lucky light, and those were considered caboose lights. They used to put them on the back of trains, and here's another one over here in gray. Now, to give you an example how much light, I'm going to take one of these inspectors into the driveway and show you how bright it is. Completely dark in my driveway here next to my truck, but I'm going to show you. You can see the light and the reflection of the car, but this is here, the lantern. If you had to check a tire or something, or you could see how this would work. And remember, back then there were no flashlights, no electric lights. And there we go, the Adventure Team logo. Okay, in closing, we have a little while before the ball drops, and I think, Bob, Would have enjoyed this lantern light off, and from the East Coast to the West Coast, we used to say. And I just want to thank all of you for your support throughout the year from 2020. I know for a lot of you it was a tough year. I got to tell you, for me, it was a pretty good year. Even with the pandemic and everything, I'm telling you, it was good. It wasn't bad for me, but I know it's been rough for a lot of people. So, I hope 2021 is a better year for all of us. And thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great day. Take care now, and Happy New Year.